Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Hey everybody, it's Tom Foster in the World of Marketing, and I'm here again with my good buddy, Chris Mullins. Chris, how are you?
I am super. I love being in your instrument room
Yeah,
with you.
my wreck of a basement and my studio. I'm actually a mad scientist working on a new song right now.
Oh, nice.
Although it's been a little different because my lead singer and my partner in the band is my daughter, of course,
Right, yeah.
and she is pregnant again. So that's baby number two. And so when she's pregnant, according to her, her
Huh.
voice doesn't work anymore. So I have not yet like trusted but verified that, but
Uh-huh.
my partner is kind of out of commission.
That's
Uh,
interesting.
I know. She says when she's pregnant, she can't really sing. So I don't know.
Whoa.
I don't know if that's a medical fact or her own mental noise going on. And speaking of mental noise, that's
Yeah, that's
kind
a
of
noise.
it's a good segue for what we're talking about here.
Yes.
Um, I had done a podcast a few weeks ago. Well, it's
Mhm,
probably been a few months ago with my doctor about
mhm.
depression, and you had sent me a note a few weeks ago about, hey, let's do another podcast because you wanted to talk about this, and I think this is a great conversation
Mhm.
because you and I both talked to a lot of lawyers
Yeah.
in the course of our business and our relationships. And Chris, why don't you just tell everybody again what exactly you do in your relationship with lawyers, just to refresh everybody.
Yeah. So with intakeacademy.com, what I do is I work with attorneys and intake and negotiations and client care. So we're kind of like across the board now. And we work on conversion, the experience, the client relationship, the prospective client relationship, and sales. And we focus on that with law firms. But by doing that, I've gotten to be exposed to a whole nother area that we now focus on, which is mental health.
Wow. So, because that's how I've known you for all these years,
Mm,
because we've worked together for God,
mhm.
it's got to be 10 years
Yeah.
now. It's got a long time known each other in
Yeah.
this business, and yeah, you've always been focused on improving intake
Yeah.
and conversion of calls and conversion of whatever. Whenever a potential prospect is calling a law office, you're there to help them do a better job at responding to that.
Mm,
And it's interesting that, and my what I've done always is, and my team is about helping attract through search engine optimization and through creative content added to your website and newsletter and email marketing, attract people, and then our job is to consult to improve that, and your job is to consult and improve the conversion of
mhm,
those. And what's interesting is both of us, because we were talking about this before the call, both of us have kind of experienced the same thing of we end up talking to them about their business, that it just kind of leads down to that
mhm,
path. And uh sadly, in many cases, these people are having a hard time.
yeah.
um
Yeah.
and so let's talk a little bit about that. They struggle with depression,
Mhm. Yeah.
um and a lot of them are drinking too much,
Mhm.
that helping them get through the day. They got a tough job, man. And that's something that I think that you and I both picked up on early on when we started working with lawyers. This is a different game.
Mm.
What these people have to deal with, just in their day. Get up and get excited about going to work. When you're many of them dealing with criminals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, uh, and so let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what is
Yeah.
your experience in talking to people about this?
Well, so the way we got involved in the mental health aspect of everything, it just kind of like it connected the dots and made perfect sense because we listened to real prospect phone call recordings and real client call recordings, either for intake or the attorneys, even negotiations and client care. And so by doing that, we're hearing the real raw emotional pain and story of those individuals. And so we know that that's what the attorneys are hearing and intake and every other department is hearing. And I got just really worried and really concerned for all of these people, the attorneys, intake, every department, just really concerned for them because, what you want to imagine is you're on the phone every day, all day long, or even if you're doing consultations in person or by Zoom, it doesn't really matter. You're exposed to these horrific, terrible stories about people's unbelievable tragedies. You might be hearing about actually somebody saying, look, I got a gun in my hand and I want to kill myself. At that very moment, that's what we're hearing. And I know that's what our clients are hearing. And so that's what they're hearing. And they take on the trauma, they absorb it, and they get depressed and suicidal and drugs and alcohol, and they don't help themselves as much as they should. And I kind of liken these careers of attorneys intake and other departments to like 911 operators.
Yeah,
So think about the 911 operators. They have phone call after phone call, and they don't know what kind of situation is going to happen next. And oh my God, they might be trying to talk somebody down to hide under the table because there's a guy robbing their house, breaking in at the very second the operator's on the phone. And
yeah.
the operator has to be pretty careful about what to say and what not to say because that operator doesn't want to mess things up for that person to get found. I mean, they're on the phone and they're in control of all of that. That's just crazy, horrific, but it's the same thing in the legal business. It is the same. I mean, can you imagine somebody saying, I'm going to kill myself? Like, you got to know what to say. And
Well,
that,
no matter what I mean, like they could be calling up about something that, with their child, something, terrible accident, a terrible, whatever event.
yeah,
Nobody calls a lawyer in a good mood. Nobody calls a lawyer like, let me tell you a happy story. That's a very rare thing. And lawyers have to, um, they have to be empathetic and they
hmm
have to embrace and own this pain in order to be a good counsel, to be a good lawyer, to represent that client in
yeah,
whatever they're going through. They have to own that pain and own all of that stuff, own the story. And it, I'm with you, man. I'm like, I listen to it
hmm
and I'm not, I mean, I spent years before I did built websites, before websites existed, and I built them. I was doing trial presentation for lawyers, where I'd go into into the courtrooms and help them present their cases with video and showing up things on the screens. And I just remember being that was my first experience in dealing with it myself. Like you're saying, you hear these calls, you hear what's going on. Mine was when I was doing the trial presentation, and I was just blown away by what was going on with these people. You can't help but get involved, and we would do did settlement videos, videos that were designed to go in front of the insurance company and settlement officer to say, look, we're going to take this to trial, or videos that we took to trial, and we create these stories. Just terrible tragedies that happen to people that lawyers take on, and due to their profession, they must own it in order to
Mhm.
do a good job at it.
Mhm.
And no, it doesn't matter what area you're in.
No.
I mean, uh, uh, even estate planners,
Yep, yep, it
what
doesn't
they
matter.
everybody has.
It doesn't matter what market area it is,
Right.
it's every single market area, and the sad thing is, and what we're when we're working with attorneys and trying to help them get through this, is they have never, ever been taught on any level how to deal with this, even how to provide empathy, compassion, intimacy, build that relationship, retain that relationship, and how to get through it. They've only been taught how to be tough, how to be perfectionists, how to work really hard, how to have no feelings, and to just get it done. They haven't been told or taught any of the other stuff, which is all about humanizing the experience and the relationship. And so they're suffering. And law firms really need to take on the responsibility of providing resources and services to help their attorneys.
And it's kind of a sneak attack. And we're going to talk. I know you got a bunch of resources we're going to talk about, but I just want to say, because you bring up a good point, they're not trained.
Mhm.
Um, a lot like they're not trained to do marketing, and
Mhm.
what happens is that you're just kind of assaulted with it. Like, here it is. And a lot of us go into a job with great attitude, and we're going to I'm going to be a really great I mean, I talked to lawyers. I'm going to be a really great lawyer,
Mhm.
and they have the best intention, and they represent a client, and they get wrapped up into it. They don't mean to.
Yeah.
But it's, how can you not, if you're an empathetic person, you're going to get sucked into it. And if you're not prepared for it, then things could go really awry. And I know that they have for many people that are probably
Mhm.
listening to this right now.
Yeah, right, right.
So through the course, so this is really great, Chris, that you've done this. So through the course of your own practice of helping people with their intake, you've discovered
Mhm,
this phenomena of what's happening
mhm.
to lawyers and law firms, and not just the lawyers but the staff itself.
Exactly, yeah,
Not
yeah.
just the lawyers, it's everybody. So what have you come up with to help these guys out, help everybody out with this?
Well, the first thing, like, I wanna say is it goes without saying that this problem affects client retention, conversion,
Right.
relationships, reviews, and all that, so that goes without saying. My bigger concern is, before we even get there, is how do we help the attorneys and other team members get through this? And so when we talk to a law firm, we talk to them more about self-care and how to build a culture of self-care versus a culture of performance, 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 which only equals burnout. And the other thing you got to realize is all these expectations we have of these attorneys and all these crazy hours they work, they take it home. And then they have major issues at home with their family. And there's a lot of divorces, and they're kicked out of the houses. They have no place to go. They're working out of their cars. And nobody really knows this about these people. They have no idea what's going on with these attorneys. And so self care is critically important for every law firm, just putting together a culture of that, putting together systems and processes to help attorneys. You can do a lot of different things. You can create what we call venting moments, where there are organized moments that are happen on a regular basis, and they're mandatory for attorneys to attend, where you get to safely vent what's going on with you. No strings attached. There's actually nobody that's really trying to solve it in some of these venting moments. They're just listening. And that's one of the key things in some of these sessions is don't try to solve it. Everybody thinks that you have to solve it. You don't need to solve it. Most of the time, someone just needs to know there's resources they can go to, but more importantly, when they have the courage to vent, that they're not worried about somebody trying to fix it for them. They don't need to be fixed. They just want to be heard. They
Right.
just want a sounding board. They just want to get it out. And so law firms, it's not really that difficult to put some of these things in place for the
Oh,
attorneys. Yeah. You can even do things like creating safe words. So maybe the safe word is something simple like pineapple, and that's your safe word. And the attorneys know that the point person for venting and the safe word this week is so and so, and they're going to email or text the word pineapple. And when they do that, they immediately get a phone call or they get a text back or however the communication is set up so that they can vent and they can share what's going on and get it off their chest. And then they're put in touch with other people at the firm to get the help that they need to actually solve it. You don't want to solve it when they're trying to vent, but you want to still provide them a solution if they need help with trying to fix something at the same time for after the venting. So there's different ways that you can do it. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's rather simple. Just recognizing that it exists and establishing something and let it kind of roll and see what happens.
yeah, this should be outside the normal kind of meetings
Yep.
of casework and whatnot, because you don't want to, you're in, if you're having, I mean, because things could come up in one case, but you're reacting because of your emotions about a different case.
Mhm.
And so you've got to take responsibility for your emotions, and otherwise they get out of hand and out of control. And so I totally agree
Mhm.
that I like this, being able to vent. I like that idea of figuring out a way to have someone to vent to.
Mhm. Mhm.
Certainly, I mean, Chris and I are not sitting here saying that we are therapists or
No.
doctors or anything like that. All we're
Mm.
really doing is saying we've got, we see this, and so we hear you guys out there, and
Mhm.
what you're going through, and respect it, obviously. And our job is to uh, try to make things easier for everybody. Uh,
Mhm.
Prospective client coming in, well, prospective client finding you, prospective client being able to contact you in a great way. It's funny. I
Mhm.
always I always think about you when I'm going through a when I'm calling a company or whatever about. I always think about you, about how I wonder what Chris would think about this particular sequence.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
that is so important. And then of course how the lawyer is responding to all of these, if they're having some depression, if they're
Mhm.
having struggles.
Mhm.
And so you tough your way out of that.
Mhm.
I've been through it. Chris, you've been through it. uh,
Mhm.
I think we still go through that stuff, and
Mhm.
that's a part. And way more people go through that than say they do.
Mhm. Yeah.
And lawyers are put on this kind of pedestal of like they cannot be, that they're they're better than everybody, and in many ways they are. That's what they've gone along. They're in charge of the justice system, make sure that things happen the way that they should. They're in charge of the rules. But
Mhm.
that's a big load.
It's a huge load, and the other thing too is the attorneys there, they don't feel safe and they feel a lot of shame and they don't feel comfortable with even
Right.
saying to their family in most cases don't even have any idea what's going on. They have no
Right.
idea that they're suffering from depression or they're suicidal or they're drinking or they're taking drugs, and they just feel total shame. Their friends don't even know.
Sometimes they don't even know.
Sometimes they
Sometimes
don't
they
even,
don't even know
yeah,
they're
they
going
don't even
through it.
know. Yeah. And they can't identify it. They don't, all they
Right? They're
know
like, why
is,
am I drinking so
yeah,
much? Well,
yeah, well, they beat themselves up. They feel like
right,
a terrible person. They feel like, what's wrong with me?
right.
And this is an illness. There's nothing wrong with them. They just have to get the right resources to get the right help. But they don't, when you're in this
And
place,
sometimes, sorry, but sometimes when you need to have this to bring it out,
Mhm.
You need to have some event happens that brings out
Yeah,
this thing that you did not know. That's certainly what happened to me.
yeah,
I did not know that I
yeah,
had.
yeah.
I mean, I was diagnosed bipolar. That I did not. I've
Mhm.
been living with it my whole life, and it wasn't until certain events happened that really brought it out, and then I was able to address it. I was
Mhm.
able to fix it, and it's not something you fix overnight. It's
Oh my
something that you
God.
got to work on.
No, I wanna tell everybody right now, I mean, holy cow, I am gonna be an incredible 60 years old,
Yeah,
in, like, a couple of
congratulations.
weeks. I have
Yeah,
suffered from depression all of my life, and it is a battle. It is a battle for everything that
absolutely.
we're saying, and then some. It is very, very dark, and it's just it's horrific, but the more you can, I want to ask you all to like just dig down deep and say, hey, if you don't want to feel this way anymore, then work really hard to get with people that you trust. Um, Make yourself vulnerable because you kind of have to let people know how you're feeling, the right people. Ask for help. It's
Yeah,
okay. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Just ask for help and you will get help. You'll be shocked
yeah.
at the help that you're going to get it. You'll be shocked. You'll be shocked.
Well, that's what I did. I went through this in a backwards kind of way. I wanted to quit drinking. I was just drinking crazily. And you know this. You've been around me when I've been a mess.
Yep.
And I quit drinking. And that's the path that I chose. And then it turns out that I was drinking to cover up my depression and
Mhm.
my bipolarism. And then
Right.
all that was just making it all that much worse.
Mhm.
And I have quit drinking since June, Father's Day. And guys, I hate to say it, but a lot of times that's just the easiest thing to do. That's gonna like the drinking is such a mask that we all do, and it is promoted by the world as the thing to do when you're upset or you're happy. Go out and drink, and it's like marketed, and it's very
Yeah.
popular, and everybody does it, and it's the way to go. And it's that there nobody's coming after the alcohol companies for killing people.
Well,
Nobody's coming after them, but
let me
that's
let
what they
me
do.
and let me add this. So I drinking absolutely, drugs absolutely, but the other thing, food.
Yeah, food. Yeah, yeah.
Food,
The other drug.
the other
Yeah, you're
drug.
right.
And so why do we do all these things? Because it's medication.
Yeah,
We think it's medication. And that's why we do it. And then when Tom was talking about a little while ago about the different events, you need events to happen, I liken that to rock bottom.
yeah,
Rock bottom. And sometimes that has to happen. But I think that the most important things is law firms. I mean, the other thing I found this out with a couple of clients that we were dealing with this with. Many law firms have insurance programs that provide therapists, but they haven't told their team. They haven't told the attorneys this. And they're finding out at the last minute when they really, really need it. So go to your human resource department or office manager, find out if they have some kind of therapy and just do it. Give it a try. Maybe it's virtual, maybe it's in person, but just give it a try. There's a lot of resources out there. But the main thing I really want to ask law firms is to please take care of your team, take care of your staff. They cannot begin to help you if you don't take care of them. Watch for the warning signs. Have everybody kind of like be on alert in a healthy way of supporting and helping each other firm wide, not just the attorneys, but firm wide.
agreed. I think it's important just to bring it up. Like most people just don't even talk about it, but just to discuss it, like how are the calls going? How are your calls going? How are you dealing with these people calling in? And I agree with you. What you said earlier, it's always about performance, performance, performance. Are you closing? Are you closing? Are you closing? But I agree. Self care should come first.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you have to measure for performance and all that. You got a business to run.
Hmm.
We're down with that. I'm not saying that you're not measuring for performance, but you just want to make sure that your people are at the top of their game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mental game that you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
It truly is. You're people are calling in with all kinds of crises. Whoever's answering the phone, who's ever, managing those cases and those clients, they are absorbing these crises
Mm-hmm.
emotionally. And
Mm-hmm.
so make sure that you know what's going on. Don't be, and yourself, don't
Mm-hmm.
just be caught unawares. I guess that's what we're trying to do here, Chris. We're
Yeah,
just trying to
make it,
open people up to,
open it up to an awareness
yeah,
for everybody, and get involved with your staff's families. Talk about their family. Get to
yeah,
know their family.
yeah,
Invite their family to functions and to meetings and things like that. Even if you had to do it by Zoom, get their family involved so that you can kind of make a complete circle of the relationship of your team members. And you can also kind of look for the warning signs. You can tell of people that used to be on time and on top of their game, are they not anymore? Are they not showing up? Are they out sick all the time? What's their body language like in meetings? Are they performing the way they used to perform? Are they making excuses constantly? Do they look different? Have they gained a lot of weight or lost a lot of weight? How are they handling conversations with you or with clients? It is your responsibility as a business to be in the business of people and humanizing your entire law firm from the inside out. And then when you do that, you're just unbeatable. You're just unbeatable.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and it's constant improvement. You're never done with this game of improving your business. And this is just another thing that you should look, and especially at a law firm, you've got to pay attention to these things because these are the kinds of things that cause cracks in your foundation. If you have your staff is falling apart or yourself is falling apart, you think, no, it is not good to stay up all night and work for your client. And,
Right.
like, no, no, that is not the way to go. You need to take care of yourself to be 100% for them. Uh,
Mhm.
I'd also point people back to the podcast that we did with Dr. Sendy a couple
Mhm.
couple podcasts back. We talked about depression, what I've done for myself about it. It is a work in progress, but I am so much better off than I was before.
Mhm.
Um, and I do not have the temper that I used to have. I do not go off on people are like, "Who are you?" I think
Mhm.
it's just since I became a grandpa, Chris. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
maybe.
Mellowed me out, turned me into a Zen monk. So listen, everybody needs this. Chris, it's so great to have you again here talking about this stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that you sought me out to talk about it and
Mhm.
bring it up to. Is there anything else you want to offer to the
Yeah,
audience?
I just want to give some resources. And I think, again, today really is just about awareness.
Yeah,
There's certainly a whole bunch of different things that you could talk about, but today is really awareness. So I want everybody to write down some of these resources here. One is for your family. So, family members of people that are suffering from depression, or any type of anxiety. So it's called NAMI, capital NAMI, National Alliance for Mental Illness. But this is for your partners and your family and your kids that are suffering from seeing you suffer from depression. So it's NAMI.org. So check that out. There's also an organization called recoveryinternational.org, and that's full of Zoom and conference calls of people that are suffering from depression. And then there's also the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and that number is 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255. And then there's also a service that I use myself, and it's called crisistextline.org, crisistextline.org. And you just text 741-741. That's 741-741. And via text, you can vent, you can get support, no strings attached. You can get help just by doing that. And then I've also bumped into, and this is worth just taking a look at, Lawyers Depression Project.org. Just take a look at that. So those are just some resources I think that would be really helpful to people. And I think the main thing I'd like to leave everybody with is there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I know it feels that way, but just try to find someone that you can talk to. Go to Human Resources Office Manager, see if there's anything in insurance that can help you. Begin there, and the rest will follow.
Very good. Well, Chris, thank you so much for those resources. We'll put them in the description here, and we'll also send them out in the email when we send out the announcement so
Awesome.
that people can get that. But thank you again for reaching out to me about wanting to do this and getting this out to my audience. Everybody, Chris Mullins is intake professional. If you need help with your intake, she's the one to talk to. Consult with her. She'll straighten you out. She's straightened me out a couple times over the years. And you can never get an A+, by the way. You can just never score an A+, because she's always going to make it better and better for you.
That's a good way to put it. That's a great way to put it.
It's ongoing. But Chris, thank you so much for bringing this up. We want to help you guys out as much as we can. We love you.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
We want you to, it's a tough business you're in. We recognize that, and we support you. And any way that we can help you,
Absolutely.
we're here to do it. All right, Chris, thank you so much. You got anything else?
No, sir, that's it. Yeah,
All right.
upward and onward. Okay.
Upward and onward. You hang
All right.
tight. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. It's Chris and Tom from the World of Marketing. We'll see you next time. Take
Go on,
care.
everybody. Bye-bye.